Welcome into the Official Jets podcast.
Dangling a steak in front of a lion and you ain't got no cage in between you. He gonna get to that steak.
So let's go inside the matchup.
A motivated Aaron Rodgers is a dangerous Aaron Rodgers.
Game day and every day, score a jewelry touchdown with Kendra Scott. Shop fashion and fine jewelry fit for another winning season at your local store or at kendrascott.com. Shine bright, do good with Kendra Scott.
I'm feeling festive. It's December. Christmas around the corner.
You gotta stop looking at me. I gotta stay in my box.
So let's be very positive right now. One guy on this Jets roster that you're excited about more than anybody else right now is the rookie left tackle. You want to talk about Olu Fashion?
Oh, me, yeah. So I love Olu Fashion. You talk about patience. He never gets ahead of his skis when you say that. He's never reaching. He's always in proper position. And you're going to lose sometimes, but when you make sure that in the heat of the battle that you're still fundamentally sound, he has tremendous punch, and he has the ability to engage and disengage and re-engage again, which is a tough thing. Usually, eventually, the pass rusher gets the advantage and is able to get space. And space is always the defender's friend because he can see what's happening behind you. You can't. But he has a great knack and just staying patient and allowing you to make the move, and he reacts to it after the fact, which always makes you more correct.
Baldy, how huge is it for this organization that they not only drafted this kid, but he looks like a prospect that is going to be a centerpiece on this offensive line for a long time?
He has to be, and they need that. They need an anchor at left tackle, especially. They're hard to find. When you get one, you just want to just let him go out there, play, be consistent. You know, it starts, at that position, you go, let's get 10 years. Let's get 10 years. DeBrickashaw was that guy for 10 years. They had that. They had a lot of success with it. So everybody's looking for that guy, everybody. And so I feel like they've got a guy that's getting the time right now to start to develop. He's only going to get stronger,
right?
All right? And he's only going to get more wise. So I think it's a good start for what Olu's doing right now.
Have we talked enough this year about John Simpson and what kind of addition he's been?
Yeah, you talk about taking that mentor role, right? And it's kind of reversed, right? Because when he was in Baltimore, Ronnie Stanley was the alpha male that was teaching him. But now, it's great sometimes when you see young players, and John Simpson is still a young player, have to teach because it makes you have to hold yourself accountable. Because now you have somebody that's dependent on you and somebody that's looking at you and trying to mimic everything that you do. So it makes you a model citizen, which brings the best version of yourself out as a player. And I think that's what's happening this year. And the great thing about it is we aren't talking about Simpson. We aren't talking about penalties. We aren't talking about pass sets. You talk about we knew when he came in his ability to pull and all that stuff was elite. Being in Baltimore and all the things they asked their guards to do in the run game. But I didn't realize that he was going to be able to be such a great pass protector, and that's what he's done at this juncture. I don't know if he's given up a pass.
He's the ultimate free agent. He played for a second contract. He earned a second contract, all right? And he's a young guy. Like, he's only in his fifth season right now. His career, he's just right now getting into really
at his prime.
Prime. And so I think Baltimore did a good job of developing him and raising him, and they give a lot of credit to the Jets in the front office, identifying him and going, okay, this is a corner piece. And now you put Simpson and Olu together and Tippmann. You start building continuity. Like, you start to get to all the things that linemen say all the time, like it's nonverbal communication. I know what we're doing. We know when to leave the combo. We know how to get up to the second level. Like, you're starting to see, especially last week, I thought, you're starting to see some of that ability between those three guys on that left side.
What have you liked most about Tippmann here in year two? And what kind of steps is he taking? And also, what kind of ceiling does a kid like that?
I mean, it's just consistency. I think he could be up there, right there with Linderbaum and Creed Humphreys. I think, you talk about his ability, and I wish they would do it more. But, I mean, I want him on the move. I like to see him do on the move. I want to see him like Jason Kelsey. I want to see him, when you stack the defense this way by putting your formation here, you can actually play like you have a tight end to the left side because you have the ability to block back and pull your center to the open side. You know what I mean? I think that's a beautiful thing to be able to have. Not everybody has the ability with the athleticism to be able to do that. And because when you pull that center to the open side, he becomes that lead blocker. It's a numbers game. And he's a guy that can get around that corner, get up to the second level, seal that inside linebacker, especially if you set the defense with a counter step with the running back this way to set that linebacker to make him take that step. He can get around and fool him because a lot of these guys have bad eyes at the second level.
You know, your offensive line is only going to be as strong as your center. I mean, it's in everything, run or pass. Like, are you firm in pass protection? Last week, you're going up against Zach Sealer and Benito Jones and Calais Campbell, and the pocket was firm. Aaron was able to get to a second and third read quite frequently. You're as strong on the offensive line as your center. And so I think Tippmann's ability right now, identify the strengths, okay, the linebackers, all that kind of stuff, I think is becoming second nature. And now it's a question of just working with the guys next to you. Vera Tucker on one side, Simpson on the other, because you're going to do everything as a group. You know, whether it's sealing the backside, cutting off your defense, getting to the second level, all those things are sort of executed starting with your center.
And I think it's going to be huge for AVT just to finish the year after what he's been through the last couple of years as far as injuries shoving him. Don't you think that way?
Yeah, it's tough, right? And as a guy that I thought was one of the most talented, players, and he showed his ability much like,
just the versatility.
Yeah, he showed the same things that Olu showed. He showed he can play right tackle, right guard, left guard. But he didn't have the opportunity to really settle in for one position, and the setbacks from the injuries. I think it'd be a good thing for him mentally to know that he can, start a season and finish a season. And you're starting to see the old AVT.
Yeah.
You talk about that touchdown run that you broke down where AVT got up to the second leg of level and he got that linebacker.
Yeah.
And, that was that block that was, very important, to the success of that run. And we'll see. Like, I know some decisions has to be made. And has he shown enough to this organization to invest in him long term? That's something that only, the organizations have to go through and process. But when he hits the open market, he's going to be able to play at multiple positions and be able to help a team. And he's really improved his value because of his versatility.
I just remember, Bart, like for myself, I had some injuries in the middle of my career, but early on and later on, I was able to stay healthy. Like, it doesn't matter. The season is the season. It's a disappointing season. But individually, you always have to evaluate yourself.
Yeah.
If you can play 17 games in this business right now, and you can start stacking those, then you start building a career, longevity. And I think it's just huge for AVT in the last month to finish out, play all the snaps, play all the games, and just mentally go into the offseason healthy for the first time in a long time.
How about the stable of running backs here? Brees Hall didn't play last week. We saw Isaiah Davis get in the end zone on the ground for the first time. The previous week, he got into the end zone with the receiving touchdown. Braylon Allen continues to make very critical plays. And I thought that was just a big step overall for those two, being the guys with Hall out of the lineup, just dealing with the knee soreness.
And two rookies, right? Guys that are only going to get better, and it's important for them to get some runs and start to see the field, start to be able to read defenses, read fronts, understand how to set up linebackers, understand pass protections, knowing how to, when blocking, knowing how to chip out and make yourself available for your quarterback and be able to make plays. And it felt like, Isaiah Davis especially had a great knack for being able to make himself friendly for Aaron Rodgers once he got in trouble. A lot of those, 3-yard passes turned into 5-yard gains or 6-yard gains simply because he got north and south, but he made himself available, finding holes in the defense. And that's important. That's the game now, moving the chains, moving the sticks.
He had a key conversion on the 4th and 2 that set up a score. And then early in the game, the last couple weeks, the Jets have thrown the ball to Allen out of the backfield.
Well, you want to establish the ability to be a 3-down back and stay on the field. And what we saw last week against Miami was the ability for both of them to be interchangeable. So protection is important. If you're the one back, you got 4 out right there to be able to protect and be able to read the blitzes that are coming. Some teams do it more frequently than others. Mugging A gaps, going up there, and stony guys. But, look, to be able to finish your runs like Isaiah did for his first touchdown run, to be able to be the safety valve in the passing game, the screen game, all those things, they're both showing that ability in real time in games to be able to do all those things.
And Allen's 100% on the 3rd and shorts and the 4th and shorts, and they had the direct snap there too. And listen, if you're meeting him in a hole It's going to be a tough tackle.
We call it the muscle push. Who needs the tush push? We got Stoney Johnson back there, you know what I mean, built like granite. And I mean, you talk about his physicality, and that's what I love about it, right? Because it feels like, Brees, even though he's a bigger back, is more of a smooth Aaron Foster type of back. And you feel like now with Braylon Allen, you have that downhill, hard to tackle physical back, don't want to stand on the train tracks when the train's going through. And then you talk about, Isaiah Davis, who's a bigger back, but can run behind his pass, but offers you some of the same elements of Brees, but some of the elements of Braylon as well. I think that's a great blend because you want different styles because different type of defenses requires different types of styles. And I think that, they have a great assortment of young, talented, running backs that they can go to and say, okay, well, this is better for this week. This is better for that week. The problem is when you have so much talent, making sure that you don't, try and get all the talent all the time when you need to get some of these guys in a rhythm and a groove. But you feel confident that if anybody gets hurt, the next man up is really not just word salad. We believe that they can come up and play at a high level.
Baldy, Jalen Ramsey is a very good player.
Yeah.
He's been a very good player in the league for a long time. But he had a tough assignment last week in Garrett Wilson. And Wilson got after him.
He schooled him. He schooled him on two different occasions. One on a double move on the outside, and one, he beat him right off the release. And Jalen has been known to follow guys. He likes that start position when you're in the slot. He's played that position. He's played on the number 1 defensive football when he was with the Rams. He played on the number 2 defense when he was at Jacksonville. He's used to playing on good defenses. And Garrett took him to school, And honestly, that's how, if you're putting a highlight tape together for Garrett Wilson this year, you're showing both those plays against Jalen Ramsey.
Styles make fights. And, I'm telling you, his suddenness is second to none. And I wouldn't, I'd be remiss to say, hey, he probably is looking at some of Devontae Adams' creative releases and learning something too. So that's being able to add some tools to your toolbox because Devontae Adams has some of the most creative, releases that times up with certain routes depending on how he's getting played. Whether he comes out with that jelly spit and then he comes out and runs the slant for different ways. And, if you take the inside away. So I'm sure he's learning some stuff. And it's good to have that type of role model, type of relationship. It's important. I know I had Ed Hartwell, I had Bernardo Harris, old lunch. He was
Jefferson helps too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, wide receiver coach.
All right, so compare his style to somebody who maybe previously played or is in the game right now. Because he's very unique, Garrett.
He wanted to throw me the alley-oop because he knows what I've been said. When I first saw him, and maybe it's an Ohio State thing, but I saw Santonio Holmes. Santonio, remember the games that he won for us on slants. Yep. And Santonio was a guy that was so quick and, he runs after the catch, but also he was a guy that even with being a guy that's, quick and can make you miss at the line of scrimmage, he was a vertical threat too. And it's rare because usually one or the other. But Santonio, vertical route, but also a guy that can kill you with the intermediate routes as well. Tremendous route runner. I would say Garrett is making a name for himself pretty early. Right now, I think the champ that is the best route runner in the league is Keenan Allen. I think everybody accepts that. It's not because he's a fast guy. He's just super crafty. Some guys just is great at it. But I think Garrett is making a name for himself.
You also mentioned Antonio Brown.
Yeah. Because remember, Antonio Brown learned from Santonio Holmes. And you talk about these guys that are really quick but stronger than what you think. And I think Garrett, if he puts about 8 pounds on, about 8 pounds on, he'll be able to run through some more of this pressure when guys are trying to put their hands on. When I say 8 pounds, I think the 8 pounds are just for practice or tan because he's one of these guys that are long, it's long and strong. And now you got to put a little bit more pec juice, a little creatine to the chest plate. Won't hurt.
You still doing creatine?
I never did creatine.
Never.
That's the problem. It was funny. I remember when I went to the Michigan camp, like Coach Gittles and all that stuff, and I'm looking at all these guys that Larry Foote over here, you got Josh Thorne, all these guys that eventually played in the league, and we get under 225, and they just, I'm like, yo, what the heck? What's going? I get under there, man. When you talk about, you know how people twerk?
Yeah.
All these girls twerk. That's how I look trying to get up. I was twerking, but that thing was shaking.
After how many?
Oh, some guys aren't weightlifters, man. Some guys aren't weightlifters.
So, but I never knew that these guys are strictly creatine. They have been taking creatine for 3-4 years. I'm always a guy that finds out stuff after the fact. Right. Like, I remember when Ray and them had the deer antler. Yeah. Who knew that you should have been taking deer antler before they banned it, right?
Yeah. I'm a big believer in creatine.
And listen.
I think they're just building amino acids, protein, like that.
I didn't know
stuff.
I didn't know anything about it.
Really?
I've got the other thing. Oh, I never knew about Adderall in college.
Yeah.
I'm sitting up there actually studying.
I didn't even drink a cup of coffee in college. I didn't know that if we keep you up. I never had a cup of college.
Listen, you don't get a lot of information at D1AA. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to let you know. But these guys were lifting their ass off, and I'm like, why am I so weak? And it balanced out. But yeah.
I learned early on in my career, start looking in the lockers of some of the veteran players, see what was in there. You know, like sometimes they had the jars hidden.
Yeah.
Different, different substance in the jar.
All the
But
time.
look,
Like
let's see what's in the jar.
Paul, the
Some
equals
vet-
beliefs. You're at NFL Films, then you're at NFL Network and the Coast, then you're calling games on Sundays, and then you're doing film as soon as the game's over. Like you're talking about this weekend, you got the Chargers and
Bucks.
Then he's going to walk across the street.
Yeah, the NFL Network started watching the 1 o'clock game.
So what keeps you going?
Huh? I
You're
just had 2 cups
you're a
of
coffee drinker. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know,
But
like,
you're in the
honestly,
gym,
but here's
too.
the thing: I still get my sleep.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to work the next day without 6 hours.
Okay.
Like if I get 7, great, but I'm going to get 6. I used to cheat it and try to go like some of these coaches,
Yeah.
3 hours.
You can't
Mentally, you start breaking down. You start stumbling,
counterproductive.
making mistakes. It's not worth it.
All right.
I get my sleep.
But after you're in the gym, what's a supplement of choice?
What is my supplement?
Because you're still getting after it.
No, I'm still getting my vitamin D.
Yeah.
Like vitamin D, like basic vitamins.
Yeah, but you get that down in Florida.
Yeah, I get the sun, get that. You know, but like honestly, like at this stage of my life, like I'm not trying to set any records. I'm just trying to like maintain what I got at that point.
Keep muscle mass.
Yeah.
That's when you see older people. That what happens is they lose their ability to retain muscle. So got to keep that protein up. So for me, I just take plant-based protein.
Okay.
The Official Jets podcast is presented by Kendra Scott, the jewelry company that's shining bright and doing good. Shop game day ready jewelry styles and so much more at kendrascott.com.
All right, Jamien Sherwood, 18 tackles against the Dolphins.
13 solo.
Yeah. All over the place.
Yeah.
C.J. Mosley, unfortunately, been a tough year for him. He's on injured reserve.
Well,
Speak to Sherwood's development.
I mean, you talk about, the experiment because he wasn't the only safety that you guys drafted that you tried to convert. I forget the other.
It was like a bunch of
Nasruddin.
Yeah, Nasruddin, right? And, like Sherwood stayed the course. You talk about Earl Ulbrich, you talk about the Jets, seeing the talent and believing in it, understand that he had to grow into his body. Then once that, settles in, then you have to learn how to get your eyes right. It's a different perspective from safety. I've done that. Being back there 12 yards is different when everything clears out. Then when the closer you are, the more you see and the more anxious you get with all the movement, guards, and pulling and all the eye salad that comes out. And I thought he settled in. He settled in just in time, right? It's kind of like how my career was. I played special teams for my first 3 years. Ray Lewis got hurt. In this scenario, C.J. Mosley is the guy that got hurt. And, it allowed him to get a greater opportunity and not have the fear that if I mess up, that I'm going to be replaced and I'm going to be on the bench. Like, hey, he's going to have to go through his lumps. And he made some mistakes early on in the season. But now, like, it's starting to slow down and settle down for him. It's a beautiful thing. And it couldn't be perfect timing for him as he's a free agent coming up. So, I mean, you see what he's done. He's going to put the pressure on the Jets to make sure that they lock him down. And if you do that, you have 2 of the most athletic, physically gifted.
With him and Quincy, yeah.
Right. Linebackers in the game. You talk about, team speed. You can never have enough of it. But it's tough to have team speed and still have physicality. Mm-hmm. And I think the next part of his game is for him to learn how to be at an anchor when he has to, because what teams are going to do is say, okay, listen, we're not going to run away from him because he'll hunt you down. We're going to run right at him.
Well, I saw him down the goal line just smash an offensive tackle, make the tackle. The goal line. The thing that impresses me, Bart, is this is how you know he knows his stuff right now. Like he's calling all the signals. He's getting guys lined up in front of him. Like he's like you. It's almost like if you listen to quarterbacks that are confident are loud.
Mm-hmm.
Like they because everybody has to hear them, but they're confident in what they're saying.
Over communicators.
They're over communicators, and I think like you watch him. He's talking to his safeties. He's talking to Quincy. He's talking to the defensive lineman in front of him. Like he's getting guys lined up in the right spots pre-snap. And he looks very, very adept at doing that right now.
Baldy, you had a hard out at 10. Well, I'm not going to reveal the time here because we're taping the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get your final thoughts before you go.
Yeah.
On this weekend's matchup, Jets, Jaguars, 2 teams that have, frankly, lost a lot of close games this season, but Jaguars playing a backup quarterback, and their defense 32nd in the National Football League, 32nd in terms of yards per pass.
Well, I mean, look, they broke it down a lot, and they did it in a lot of different ways. It could be coverage. If you blow coverages on the back end, you give up touchdowns. And they've done a lot of that this year. And so they had a new defense coordinator, a lot of changes at linebacker and, on the corner this year. So it's led to a lot of it. But, this is a team that, honestly, they found a way to win a game, close game against Tennessee last week. So they feel pretty good. Maybe they feel like they're turning the corner. But, honestly, the stats don't even matter at this point.
Yeah.
Go down there and play a good football game. Finish the game. Because the Jets have played a lot of good games. They haven't finished. They haven't finished 3 weeks in a row with a chance to win against Indianapolis. You had a chance to win. Finish the game, all 3 phases. Get off the field and you're in defense. Go down and score. When you got the ball, like the Jets had a chance to go down and beat Seattle. Just go score the touchdown. Finish it.
Yeah.
You stop making mistakes that prevent you from finishing it. They did that again last week. So just clean the mistakes up. The talent is there. And I think it's time to go get on a plane after a win and enjoy a good ride home for a change.
Well, go get in your car. I know you're finished. All right, Baldy's out, but we're going to finish with you.
Yeah.
What do you see from the offense last week? More than 400 yards.
Mm-hmm.
They doubled the Dolphins in rushing. 0 turnovers, 26 points. Aaron Rodgers continues to talk about 30 points, right? And they didn't get the 30 last week, but I thought the offense looked probably as good as it has in 2024.
I mean, I hate to beat a dead drum, but I think the addition of Olu, because you saw Aaron Rodgers going down the field with the football because he didn't get immediate pressure. I think they had the same thing last week, but then when, Moses Morgan went out, then he had instant pressure from the other side. When Aaron is comfortable in the pocket and he believes that his blind sides are protected, he'll stay in the pocket more and he'll step up and step on. You saw a little bit of the health coming back because he was able to lose some rushes and get out, and that's able to stretch the field. Football is about being able to put your best players in space. And when you have great protection, it allows you to create space vertically. You always have space horizontally because you have 53 yards, but it's tough sometimes if you don't have the time, you can't stretch it vertically. And when you have your blind side protected, you have an opportunity to do that, which opens everything else up because then it's a butterfly effect because then now you have space to run the football because now they're protecting vertically, they're protecting the field vertically. So it creates that space for running the football, which then creates more space because it creates play action pass behind the linebackers in front of the safety space. So I think, it's I don't want to overstate it or understate it either. I think Olu, solidifies his offensive line.
I'm going to cause trouble for myself right now by saying that I watched that game and wondered what might have been.
Yeah.
Because
you can't do that.
You got Garrett out there, you got Devontae out there, you finally got Lazard back in the lineup.
Lazard was key.
Right.
He was more key than people realize because he's one of the upper echelon blockers. And if you anybody that watches the Los Angeles,
so you got to break this down and tell them why Lazard is so important to the equation here.
But see, he's second level blocking, right? And he's not just second level blocking the cornerbacks. He's second level blocking the safeties, which are designed to come into the box and be enforcers. And he's able to nullify them, which creates tremendous run lanes. And so, it's not a overstatement to say, hey, once he came back, now look at the yards per carry, right? Because now you don't have extra guys in the box. Those guys get in the box, they get taken out by Allen Lazard. So, I think, he's more key than what you think. And if you want to know how important receivers are to running games, I just want anybody here to watch the Los Angeles Rams and watch what Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp does. It's really great to watch. And if you talk about when we were in our heyday in upper echelon of the run game, it was because Braylon Edwards is up there choke slamming people.
Choke slamming people. Listen, both Garrett and Devontae go over 100 yards, and you're seeing teams now, okay, in Miami's case, they put their best cornerback on Garrett. We were wondering last week, was it going to be Garrett or Devontae? You got to pick your poison.
So it's usually what you do, right? You usually take the best guy, you double them, and then you take you take the best receiver, you double him with maybe your second best corner, and because he's been doubled, so he has help. Then you take your absolute lockdown corner and you put them on what you think is 2, saying your number 1 should be able to stop their number 2. Not so fast.
Yeah, there is no 2.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the mistake, and that's what the beauty of Devontae Adams and why he's important to maintain, because he allows you not to be able to have your number 1 receiver taken away because you have 2 number 1 receivers, and if you want to go, you have to pick your poison. Now, I think, next year, if they really get some more production from the tight end position, so if I was making a wish list for the Jets, especially on the offensive side, I would say,
I know it's Christmas time, but this is a little early for all season wishes.
Well, I'm asking Chris Kringle. I really go, hey, he can give it to us this year. I really love your boy. I think he's a great H-back, and if he can develop into that fullback position, you know what I mean? I think, he has to embrace that. You got to show him some Kyle Juszczyk, some Ingold type of tape, and say you can be both. You can be a tight end, and you can be, a fullback as well.
All right. So defensively, Miami, Tua's not sacked,
right?
And I think they hit the Jets up with 13 screens. So this is a copycat league.
Absolutely.
Jacksonville, they got Mac Jones back there.
Yeah.
He's not the most mobile quarterback. Right. So what do you anticipate from them after watching the way Miami attacks? Because not a lot of people have Miami's weaponry.
They don't have the team speed to duplicate that. So they have to try and win a different way. Will they have some screens in that best fits their personnel? Yes. But I just can't see them being able to drop back and do all these fast tunnel screens and all that stuff. I thought I was watching Chan Gailey again, but all these damn tunnel screens to A-Chan coming through what we call middle screens.
Yeah.
What you call that.
Yo, we broke that down for Jets game day before, and we were talking about it Sunday before our post-game show. They were doing the same thing.
It's just Chan Gailey's middle screen.
Yeah.
Right, you set the guys up, especially when you got man-to-man coverage, and you set them up, and you set your blocks up, and you come back underneath.
Yeah.
They have to respect the outside and come underneath. So I can see the Jets getting some of that, trying to figure it out. But I think they don't. Mac Jones doesn't throw with the anticipation and the timing and touch of Tua, which is a big part of why you're able to throw those tunnel screens.
It's time for the Jets to beat Mac Jones. He's 5-0 against them. Obviously, he made those starts when he was in New England, but I go back to 2022. The Jets sacked him 12 times, 6 times in each game against.
Yes.
So he will hold on to the ball.
He won't birth the baby.
You're going to have some opportunities now.
I tell you what, it's going to be a great matchup. Sauce is going to have to nullify Brian Thomas because he's a beast. He's a war daddy now. But I do like it because he offers a lot of the same physicality and speed that DK Metcalf does.
Yeah.
And, the bigger guys, sometimes it's easier for a guy that's long like Sauce because he can use his length and his size to stop them from getting started.
Do you see the Jets scoring 30-plus this week? Because I do.
Of course.
I really do.
They're on the
first time this season.
They're on the cusp.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, first time in a long time, over 300 yards. I think, they're starting to hit their stride and figure things out. And, I thought last week the game plan was perfect. Being able to, it was a lot more motions and shifts. And I thought, it created space and opportunities for guys to get up the field without having to be jammed at the line of scrimmage.
Could be back-to-back games for Aaron with 300 yards passing because everybody's talking about that forever. That was 34 starts entering last week.
That's important.
It's
important. It's important that he establishes some dominance and some rhythm so that he can show the people what it could be.
Yeah. And then after this game, next week we'll be talking about the matchup at home, December 22nd against the Rams. I'll tell you, that Rams offense.
They're coming.
That's
Buffalo.
That Rams offense is dynamic. Talk about receivers getting after you, and then you have McVay calling the plays. The staff still playing at a high level.
I mean, you got Puka with 89 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Not even to talk about the yards receiving.
Right.
He had 160 receiving. He's quickly becoming, you talk about a team with 2 number 1s at receiver. Well, here you go, Jets.
Yep, here we go. But first things first, as they say. That's Jets-Jaguars this week. And the Jets are acclimated to the heat after what happened in South Florida last week. We'll be fine in Jacksonville.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
They're winning this game.
They better.